You know, us humans, we love to drone on and on about how different things are now and how much better things were before with time, with our hobbies, especially here on social media, with the way we spend our days. But we're seemingly not willing to look at why things are different and how the way we do things differently makes them different, and how we might adjust for that or fix that if we really wanted. It's easy to sit here and be like, oh, boo-hoo, everything's different now. Of course, everything is different. We do everything differently now. We consume all media differently, whether it's books, television shows, movies, video games, and the results are completely altered. I always think about TV shows with this because our viewing habits with shows have changed so drastically. Back in the day, if you had a favorite show, you built a routine and structured your life around often watching that show, even in short bursts, whether it was on Wednesdays or Fridays or Saturday nights. You would structure your day with your time remaining before bed, either to watch it with dinner maybe on Friday night or to watch it after dinner, or something that you watched right as you got home from school. Maybe you got up early on Saturdays to watch Saturday morning cartoons, and you'd build this structure which created positive feelings associated with the show, because either it was something you were excited for, you'd been looking forward to, and you were ready to sit down and just be there and watch it and have a laugh or get into the intense drama of it, or your whole family did it together and it was this nice little, your family was together to watch this thing. And today we binge watch everything. Even now, like my wife and I have been watching Futurama, and we're just watching it through a few episodes a night, back to back to back. That is completely different. When you take 200 episodes of a show that was aired over the course of 5 or maybe even 10 years on a weekly basis, and instead watch it back to back to back to back to back, of course you're going to think, man, that show sure didn't hold up. That didn't age well. They just used the same jokes every episode. That got so repetitive. How did anyone like this? When it was a cherished show at the time, when it was aired on a weekly basis, where you only had access to it once a week, or maybe a couple back-to-back rerun marathons or something, where you were excited to watch it, and it wasn't shoved down your throat like all at once like that. When you completely change the mechanism and the speed and the format, basically, that you consume something in, it completely alters your perception of it and the way that any given joke lands, or repetition of a joke lands, and just the way you feel about it. You no longer have this being part of your routine. You're just consuming the thing rather than turning it into this recurring thing that had a positive impact on your life that you could build nostalgic memories for. You're not going to be nostalgic for binge watching a show in a couple days and then moving on with your life, whereas you were going to be nostalgic for the shows you grew up watching on a regular basis. I hate to say it, but we do the exact same thing with video games. Adults these days have access to no end of video games, and I'm sure kids do too these days with Game Pass and PlayStation Plus and all the number of free games available, super cheap Steam sales. It's kind of hard to not just accidentally end up a few years later with a massive library. And the more we engage with a thing, the more we overindulge, the harder it is to recreate that special feeling. When you have an embarrassment of riches, when you have too many things in front of you, it's hard to feel as attached to any one thing. And combine that with the prevalence of social media and online discourse about games in the first place, where we are constantly discussing these things rather than looking forward to hanging out with that one friend where we really got to chat with games and talk about what we were playing lately, or to talk about on the schoolyard and brag about your latest accomplishments in a specific game. When the discourse is just happening all the time, it stops being as fun by a significant amount. And there are plenty of those, and I'm not looking to name and shame anybody, but who spend all of their free time, once they regained control of it, indulging in their gaming hobby rather than keeping it limited to a time and a place. And instead of being that like I had this really, I think I've talked about it before, this really exciting routine where on Friday nights for some periods of time, it wasn't like a recurring thing my whole life, but it was special enough for however short-lived it was that I held on to it forever, but where my dad and I would go on a Friday after school, would go to our local game shop, which is actually the shop where I got my PlayStation neon sign from, and when they shut down, and we'd pick out a new PS1 or PS2 game to play. And we'd just go browse the used section, look at covers, pick out what seemed fun, look for stuff that supported 2 players, and we'd play it together. And that was such a special thing. And if instead we just had a infinite scrolling feed of all the games in the world and had to pick between those and we could just play them every day, I never Because frankly, that probably was how it was later on in my life. When I got older, once we had the Xbox 360, we had lots of games. We had them there. I was able to play them a lot more. I had a lot less restrictions on my time with it. And frankly, it kind of hurts to think about. I still remember when my dad was still getting used to that transition because he'd be so excited to like sit down and play more Gears of War with me or something. And I'd just want to run off and play Call of Duty online or go play Halo with friends or something, or just not be as interested because I'd already played so much games that week or in the day that it just wasn't exciting anymore. And that hurts. That's hard. And I wasn't aware of what was happening at the time, but I got to see losing that kind of special routine, the ritual of it, how it affected him in real time. And I wasn't aware enough to know that that's what was happening and what I was losing as a result. But I can now look back and be like, oh, that's what was happening. I mean, heck, think about, like, if we want to simplify it further, if you got pizza every other week with a family member you don't see very often, a parent you only stayed at on the weekends or something, you went and got pizza. It was your favorite food. You look forward to it a couple times a month or even once a month. It was a great day. You built around it. You got the pizza. You maybe watched some football or played some video games or something. And then you move out and suddenly you're eating pizza like twice a week because you can and no one's stopping you. It's not the same. It's not going to feel the same. It's not going to taste as good. It's not going to be as special because it's no longer a routine. You haven't built a ritual around the activity of doing it. You're just taking it all the time. There are scenarios where increased access and free use of a thing has benefits. Even with the internet, as much as we decry it, there have been numerous benefits to having it available at all times in our pocket. But I think we really need, if we're feeling like something's missing, if we're feeling like things are too much, if we haven't really recreated the spark we once remembered, we really need to take a look inside and consider what ways we're really doing things differently. I've implemented a family night with my kiddo. He's old enough to be playing video games now. Where on Fridays, since he doesn't have school the next day, we can stay up a little later during our dinner time routine, and we can either watch movies, watch shows, or play video games. And I've been introducing him to new PS4 games lately. And sometimes it's just Minecraft because he loves Minecraft and that's what we're playing. But it's that thing that now he looks forward to all the time. And even throughout the week, he's asking if we can do a family night because he's not keeping track of the weekdays, or he just hopes that we can do it on a random school night, which we can't. And it's going to be something that he holds on to in that way. And it's because we made it a thing. It wasn't just something that we had and did all the time. And it's really hard. This requires a lot of self-control. That's why we're kind of up close and personal here. It requires some internal review. It requires evaluating if it's worth doing the thing nonstop all the time. I think I've found that even with watching YouTube videos. Having it up all the time and just pulling up a million tabs of videos used to be how I watched everything. And it's like, now it's just too much noise. Now it doesn't feel special. And as a result, I am complaining so much more about the thing. I'm not just enjoying it. And obviously, I don't want to sound all consume and don't question things or whatever, but really you get a lot more critical about stuff and your experiences, which in turns make you feel less positive about doing them and form less positive memories that could become nostalgia when you're doing it all the time, when you're constantly taking it in. When I only go to the movies once or twice a year, even if the movie wasn't great, I had a good time and I don't have many complaints. I could sit there and really analyze the movie and its production and the story and form criticisms. But if I'm going to the movies all the time, I'm going to be walking out of every movie with snark and criticism, and I'm not going to feel as special about it. Whereas when it's just a once or twice a year date with my wife, I hold on to those memories a lot. Not everyone needs to change everything. We don't need to go back to everything being exactly the way it was before. But sometimes we got to remember the routines and the rituals. Remember also to be kind, rewind.